Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to the post-game extravaganza known as the Hangover, the Steelers Hangover, brought to you by BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your good friends at BTSC, where you have breaking news all the time. It could be the offseason like it is now for the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though football is still going. They're not playing, but we're still talking about them, and we're going to continue to talk about them. And as always, every Monday, I talk to my good friend, Tony Defeo. Tony, what is going on?
What's happening, Bryan? Happy New Year. Happy 2020.
Do you have your 2020 vision going?
I do. Not as good as it used to be, but still pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good, my friends. Pretty good. We've got Memphis, Tennessee in the house. Reginald Rivers, Solarverse 6. Nicholas Morris is in the house. It's Yinzer saying, what's up? It's really nice to have all of our friends here. As a reminder, what we're going to typically do with the questions, we're going to wait until later on in the show. If you do want to support the show, as always, the best way to support the show is liking it on Facebook. Actually, on Facebook. Liking it on YouTube. And liking it, not only liking it, but sharing it, subscribing, telling your friends about it, hitting that bell so you know what is going on. MJ Panther is a longtime podcast listener. First time watching it live from Pasadena, California. Pasadena, California. We know it for the Rose Bowl, but what is also famous? Who hails from Pasadena, California, Tony?
Who hails from there?
And it's not sports, but it's pop culture.
Oh, gosh. I'm stumped.
The Van Halen brothers.
Oh, I never would have guessed that.
Yes.
Never would have guessed that in a million years.
The band is from Pasadena, California. How about that? So lots of stuff to talk about. Lots of what ifs with the playoffs going on. I'm sure that you've watched the playoffs over the weekend. Probably dominated your weekend like it still dominated most of us. It was bittersweet going in. Not really bittersweet, but it was bitter just for the fact that, you had to deal with the fact that the Steelers weren't in the playoffs. Aaron Hoffmaster, 53-171, Charlestown, West Virginia, in the house. I live pretty close to Charlestown, West Virginia, on the Maryland side. So how about that?
Neighbor.
Aaron. Yeah, Aaron, right off of 81. In fact, I was on 81 today. So there you go. MJ Panther says David Lee Roth still lives there. Lives here. And, it's funny. If you mention David Lee Roth to my son, who's 12, what do you think? If you mention David Lee Roth, what 3 words do you think he's going to say next? It's not, might as well jump. Well, that's 4, but think about it. Holiday season, we just left it. What's my son going to say?
Once again, I'm stumped.
Lights the menorah.
Oh, I never would have got that. Another
the Hanukkah song.
I am definitely not on my game in the off season. At least when it comes to Van Halen.
Ali Araby's in the house. What's up, goats? Hey, I've never been called a goat. That's great. Kathy Ford, one of our favorites. Hello, fellow fans.
Hey, Kathy.
Devin Snowden is in the house. Blue Pash says, you're all bundled up. It's 70 degrees here in Florida. Actually, not that bundled up. I didn't feel like going downstairs for my jersey, so I look like an idiot right now. Snowman is in. Hass H saying, what up, fellas? Shield 91. So, my friends, the playoffs started this weekend. The first, great games all the way around.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Had a good time watching these games. None were blowouts. Some of them I wanted to be blowouts. But let's start with the first game. And the first game being the Buffalo Bills. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, and no one annoys Bryan now like Buffalo Bills fans. Well, Baltimore Ravens fans do. But wow. You know what? Normally I would have probably been rooting for the Buffalo Bills against the Houston Texans. And I have no problem with the Houston Texans. I like Bill O'Brien. I love J.J. Watt. And this is not because he's TJ's brother. I always said, even before I heard of TJ, that my favorite non-Steeler was J.J. Watt. I just loved his motor. I loved what he did. So I'm laughing because I'm being asked if I didn't get new curtains. Those curtains aren't even 5 years old yet, Ryan O'Toole. They really aren't. And my wife, Tony, is probably one of the nicest of people I've ever met. She's pretty nice. However, one thing that upsets her is when you rip on her curtains.
Ooh, don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah, I tell you, she's like, "What's up with my curtains?" She's yelled at Jeff Hartman about it. She's like, "Why are they ripping on my curtains?"
So Ryan O'Toole has a new enemy now.
Oh, my wife.
Yeah.
Ryan, I still got your back. We're BTSC family. You're okay. Shield 91 likes the curtains. I appreciate it. So North Top likes my vest. Hey, we were talking last week about Steeler gifts for Christmas. This was one of the Steeler gifts that I got. And guess what? It's reversible. It's fleece with the Steeler logo on the other side. So looking really good. So anyways, normally I would be rooting for the Buffalo Bills. I kind of like that team. I like the defense. I like the team. I have no problem with them at all until I met Buffalo Bills fans. I've met them before. I was at the Hall of Fame induction when Jim Kelly and John Stallworth got in. Well, for me, it was John Stallworth getting in. But Jim Kelly headlined, and what a class act, and it was a great speech. Buffalo Bills fans weren't that bad that day, I guess because it was early August, and they weren't annoying. But at that game in Week 15, even Dave Schofield was like, "Wow, they're crazy," and they completely are crazy. These guys, and girls. I'm telling you, like the women, the Buffalo women, the women fans. I mean, I'm sure there's not all Buffalo, but but they were rough, and they do know how to party. I'll tell you that. But they know how.
They had quite a drought. They were drunk on the Bills' success after all those years, I guess.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, am I turning? You can answer this question. I guess I'm turning into one of those guys. Am I turning into one of those guys that I'm like, all right, I want them to lose just to make sure those people that were rubbing it in completely unprovoked to me went home unhappy? Because I mean, it's not like I was rooting for the case of the gout and irreversible erectile dysfunction on Ravens on John Harbaugh last week. Like I wasn't doing that. But I just really was not enjoying those fans that night, because if you meet me at a game and you're wearing another jersey, I'm going up to you and shaking your hand, and I'm hanging out with you. And you saw me do it on live on YouTube when we were doing that. I was going up and talking to Buffalo fans, and we were having fun. Oh yeah, you were there with me,
right?
And,
yeah,
because at the end of the day, it's just laundry, but it's laundry with a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that laundry, I mean, but the culture, sometimes you kind of forget that we're all people underneath the laundry.
Right.
And so, and I kind of feel like Baltimore fans do that as well. So we will do that. We're going to save that till later on the show. I think that's going to be fun. We're going to talk about our least favorite fan bases. But we're not going to do that now. Let's talk about the games. So that first game, what a game. What were they down? 16-0?
I think it was, 16-0. And then J.J. Watt had a big sack, and that kind of turned the tide. And
then I got to tell you what, Deshaun Watson, I fell in love with him at Clemson. I just think what he did in that last play of the game that passed to Hunter Renfrow, now of the Oakland Raiders, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders, but to beat Alabama, who I always pull against Alabama, and it's not for the reason you pull against Alabama. It's because I can't stand that coach down there. I'm not going to say his name. It rhymes with Sick Nabin. But that guy screwed me over when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car years ago in 2004. Actually, he was he was coaching LSU, and he had a huge winning streak going. It was like 18, 19 games, and I'm like, all right, he screwed me over this week. I'm cursing him. They're going to lose. And they lost that weekend to Auburn. It was very satisfying to me. If I'm not mistaken, it was around September 9th, 10th of 2004. So I will never forget that. And when they when that Clemson team beat Alabama in the final seconds, and the way Deshaun Watson, just he's a character guy too. He's a good dude. Yeah. And I think Hopkins is as well. And I just love watching these guys play. And how much, I don't think there's any greater character guy than that of JJ Watt as well. So I'm really hoping they do well. Going against Kansas City, that's gonna be a tough game. But let's get back to this game. And when we're talking about this game, it all happened when JJ Watt went ahead and first came back too. Mm-hmm. First came back. No one thought he was going to be back. Thought he was gone for the year. And this is a guy you just root for. And like I said, Watson's a guy you root for. Duke Johnson's a guy I root for. You and I liked Duke Johnson a couple years ago, the way he handled himself when, even though it wasn't in that game, but the way he was supporting Ryan Shazier when he got injured.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, it's guys like that. You root for character. There's high character guys on the Bills too. I'm not going to say that there isn't, but I really wanted to see them come back. And it was funny. You're watching those fans as it goes. I'm like, all right, they got to lose. Come on, Houston. And they came back.
Yeah.
And it was nice. And it's funny. Nap 1963 was actually texting me during that game. And he was like saying something like, I fell asleep at one point. I really did.
It's amazing how it could have very easily been a different story. It was 13-0 at the beginning of the second half. And that fluky kickoff where the guy just kind of dropped the ball. He was handing it back to the ref, and the ref said, nope, still a live ball. And the Bills recovered it for a touchdown. If they recover that, if that call holds up there, it's a completely different game. The Bills probably win. Yeah.
That game is completely over.
So it's amazing how it can change.
20-0 at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I think it was 13-0 when that happened.
Right.
What were your thoughts
on that play?
Yeah.
I thought it was the right call. The way the NFL is sort of neutered the kickoff. You can't blame a player for just like doing that in the end zone, because at any ball that goes in the end zone, if a player just looks like he's given up, the ref usually blows the whistle, and that was the case. That was a play that you've seen you see every week in the NFL during the regular season, and for some reason the referee decided that this is the time he was gonna make it a live ball. I think the referee really screwed up there. I think he didn't use his best judgment, and the alternate guy came over and said, look, you're going to use your common sense here. So I thought that was I thought that they got it right at the end.
Yeah, but you know what? I agree with you. That would have been a shame, because it's something they've done all year. Mm-hmm. And players have been doing that. They're not taking a knee.
Right.
But, it's not hard to take that knee, though, either.
I know. I agree. I agree.
But I think it was the right call. But if anybody in Buffalo right now is incensed, mm-hmm. and of course we probably would have been too. But come on, I think there'd be a lot of us saying, even if it happened against the Steelers, I think there'd be a lot of us saying, it's ticky-tacky.
But at the same time,
we know what he's trying to do.
Right, yeah. And they still had a 16-0 lead late in the third quarter, or midway through the third quarter. So, they still had a pretty large lead that they let slip away.
And you really can't blame that. One more thing to say about this game. Once again, we talked about it. Deshaun Watson, man, he was dead to rights in overtime.
Yeah.
And I really thought we were going to overtime number 2,
mm-hmm.
the way things were going. And they had him just dead.
Yeah, and that was like Eli Manning-esque in the Super Bowl.
It was absolutely gorgeous, that play.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you know what, I do have, those are my outside Christmas lights, Dallas. I know it's 2020, but I'll get to them. Oh yeah, I need to spend all my time preparing to give you quality programming that we
That's right.
possibly can. I don't have time to get
That's right. And
get up on the roof.
soon your son will be old enough to do it. He'll be a teenager, and it'll be his job to do that.
So as far as questions go, we have some really good questions coming up. Hold those questions, and we'll get to them a little bit later. I do want to talk about the Steelers and these Steeler questions. I'm not going to remember them. So Dallas, I know you've had some. Doc, you've had some good ones there too.
Mm-hmm.
Harry has told us to get a life, guys. I don't know if it's us or in the live chat. I'm not sure. Please elaborate on that because we welcome all comments. Remember,
I need a life coach. I know that.
Yeah, we could all use one. Snowman's coming to my aid. Leave him alone. But here's the deal. And Jeff kind of agrees with me now because I made a joke on the show a couple of weeks back that I have adult attention deficit disorder. He's like, you really do. He goes, quit looking at the live chat. He's going to start making me turn it off. So, and I can't do that because I love the live chat, but I'm going to try to ignore it a little bit. So I'll answer your questions a little bit later on the show. Well, Tony will answer them and I'll just say something probably insignificant. But
no.
as far as that game went, that was so fun to watch. And that set up the weekend for me. I saw that game. I'm like, all right, it's going to be good because, all right, here we go. We're going into New England and New England is going to do their New England thing. Mm-hmm. And as good as Tennessee's has been looking, it's that Foxborough magic. But I thought about something today when I was driving in the car. That Foxborough magic is kind of reserved for the divisional and the championship game, and even the Super Bowl. Well, not the Super Bowl. They don't play it in Foxborough, but they don't do well in that wild card game. Remember when the Ravens went in there and blasted them in a wild card game as well?
That was the last time they were in that round.
Okay, let me. No, the Patriots are gone.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a part of me that wanted to see the Patriots continue, just to see if they could beat the Ravens because I desperately want the Ravens to be gone. And we were talking, Tony, to a lot of people, and I have a problem. Not a problem, but I just wonder, why is anybody rooting for a team just because they're in the AFC North to win it all? How can you root against your rivals, especially with what they did last week to Pittsburgh and how they went out of their way to embarrass?
That never does it for me. The whole AFC North thing never. I don't take pride in that unless it's the Steelers winning. They're the teams I want to see lose the most. The teams from the division. That's just how I feel about that.
So go into that game, and Tennessee took the lead right away, but actually they didn't. It was 3-0, but then they took the lead very soon after that. But the way it was going, you felt different from the opening gun because it was the Derrick Henry show.
Right.
And that guy somebody put it, Stephen Carestis put it in there, Derrick Henry is a beast. Yeah. And I think other people said it as well. Wow, he is amazing. How much money is he going to make in the offseason?
Is he a free agent?
Yeah.
Oh, well then and he hit it at the right time, unlike Bell and Gurley and those kind of guys. Guess
who else is a free agent? Mr. Tannehill.
Oh,
they're both free agents.
Yeah, he might have hit the Flacco jackpot. Tannehill.
Yeah, you're not kidding, especially if they go pretty far.
Right.
Here's the thing. They've got a lot of room under the cap, though. That's the thing. Ali is saying that Henry is probably going to get that Zeke money. You know what? He seems like a guy that seems to be durable, a lot more durable. I know he's had some injury concerns, but I just feel like he's a guy that can carry you. He's a guy that could carry a team through the entire postseason. Tannehill is good enough to make things happen. but you give him a great running game, and he has a great running game. He's got a good line. He has a solid defense.
Right.
Actually, I'd say an above average defense. It's a really good defense and a fantastic coach.
Yeah.
I had a buddy saying about 3 or 4 years ago they wished that Vrabel would come to Pittsburgh and be the coach. And I would have loved to have seen him come in and be a coordinator, but his star is shining way too bright for that.
Right.
One of the ways that you can support this show is to go ahead and go on the live chat. And from Bakersfield, California, our good friend Isaac Aguilera, he says his dad's a Ravens fan. He roots for the Steelers if they make playoffs, so he'll do the same. We both hate the Patriots with a passion, LOL. Now, look, I don't have a problem with that. If your dad's a Ravens fan, that's a good reason. I have no problem. I'd love to know a little bit more, Isaac. How did he become a Ravens fan? Was he a Colts fan? Is he a Maryland guy? I'd like to know a little bit more about that, because I will tell you this, and I'm not, and I also I never want to offend. I try not to offend. Living in Maryland, I've found a lot of fair weather Ravens fans, but I've found some really good Ravens fans too. So I have friends that are excellent Ravens fans, so I don't want to offend them whatsoever. But for me, that's something I would just like to know. So please let me know that. But back to this game, Brady just didn't have it.
No.
Edelman was dropping balls. They made a really cool play on that Edelman touchdown where Edelman faked like he had no clue what the play call was.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that. The next thing you know, he's running the ball in. It was pretty sweet.
Right.
I thought that was great, but they just seem, and we said this a few weeks ago, they just don't look right.
Yeah, I mean they don't have it just goes to show you even Tom Brady needs weapons around him, and other than Edelman, who do they have? I mean, Ben Watson's a nice tight end, but he's nowhere near Gronk when Gronk was Gronk, So I mean that's a downgrade right there. And Philip Dorsett, those kind of guys they're okay receivers, but they're not great. So, and plus he's 42 years old, so I mean it could just be a matter of time for him.
And he's declining. I think he's coming back.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that a Super Bowl is out of the question for this team in the future, but I really think that I agree with Reginald Rivers that he is declining.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Watson is also 38, says Ollie.
Very good point.
And and he was in that Ben Roethlisberger draft.
Yeah.
I also thought it was ironic that Duron Harmon. Was it Duron Harmon? No, it wasn't Duron Harmon. Who was the Tennessee player, number 26? I get them mixed up. That had the game clinching interception.
I forget his name, but that was I know what you mean. It was a tip, and he dropped the ball late in the first half. That would have been a touchdown too.
Live chat, help me out. Live chat.
Help us out. Who was it?
But Logan Ryan. There we go.
Okay.
And Logan Ryan, former Patriot, goes and
that's right. They mentioned that during the game.
Yeah, former Patriot just completely kills him. So thanks for the help, Kyle, Ali, Donald, Dallas. I appreciate it. Sometimes all these names, they just go in and out. And then, sometimes I'm watching like the NFL Network. I'm watching old stats, and they talk about a player that I'm like, I forgot that guy even existed.
That's right. Me too.
And which is crazy. Look at this. Look at this. Even though I'm not supposed to be going crazy in the live chat, but
wow, talk about royalty.
Lancelot Williams, Sir Lancelot, the man.
Yeah.
Happy 2020. Like and subscribe. When are we going to get Lance in the Hangover?
Oh, that'd be great.
Lance needs to be in the Hangover. Okay, now he's banned. He's going after the curtains. Lance, my wife, is not liking the curtain comments, and
Although he might be, that might be a compliment. Hashtag curtains.
No, it's not. He was calling them hashtag 2 a.m. curtains not too long ago.
Okay.
So, anyways, so here's what we're talking about here. We talked about the first game, Buffalo and Houston, excellent game. I thought the New England game with Tennessee was excellent as well. But this is a Steelers show. So here's the question. Would have the Steelers been able to solve the Patriots this time around? And let's start with this. Before we get started, let's start with, would have the defense been able to handle the Patriots and solve the Patriots and beat the Patriots?
Well, I think that part of it, yeah, because it's not about it's the NFL is often about when you play a team, and yeah, the Patriots have owned the Steelers over the years, especially at Gillette Stadium. The defense has had no answer for them, but that was before Minkah Fitzpatrick, and that was before they found their identity as a defense, and that's before they found their belief as a defense. So I think they would have solved them right around, just about the same way that the Titans did. 14, 15, whatever, how many points they would have given up. Now, would the offense have been able to do what the Titans did, like with Derrick Henry? I doubt that, because Derrick Henry is a special talent, and the way the quarterbacks were struggling down the stretch, neither one of them were even approaching the abilities of a Ryan Tannehill, and I never thought I'd say that. But yeah, I don't know if they would have solved them on offense, though. I highly doubt that.
And I love this Hass H saying Minkah versus Cam Kelly. That's a huge difference there too.
Yep.
But here's the thing, and then somebody just brought it up. Kathy brought it up. You still got to score,
right? Yeah.
But here's the thing: Steelers scoring 10 points throughout the whole week, the last 3 weeks, scoring 10 points. Could have the defense put them in line to score another 4 points to go ahead and win that game, because it took 14 to win that game.
Honestly, I think the defense would have had to score 6 points. I think the defense would have had to score on their own, like they did against the Colts and against the who else? The Chargers and the Rams. I think they would have had to score a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown, like the punt return against the Cardinals. I think that's what it would have taken, because the Patriots defense is really, really good. It wasn't as good down the stretch, but I think it would have been good enough to handle what the Steelers offense had become by the end of the year.
So here we go. Final score. Pittsburgh and the Patriots we're going to Never Never Land, because it's not going to happen. Who wins that game?
Well, I think honestly, I hate to say it, but I think the Patriots find a way to pull it out.
It doesn't matter, because they
right.
They weren't there, but yeah, I mean, probably.
Right.
I'm not going to say the Steelers would have won, but it does make you kind of wonder, though, right? Erica J, I love what Erica J says right here. TJ would have destroyed Brady.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think they would have put something on the Patriots offense. I think they would have given him a tough time. I just don't think that the offense, the Steelers offense, would have been able to do a whole heck of a lot, because that would have been a better defense than the Bills and the Jets and the Ravens that they faced down the stretch.
We're getting Dallas saying 20-3 Pats, Michael O'Malley 14-7 Cheatriots. I mean, I don't know what the final score would have been. It would have been awfully tough to have scored 14. Steven Carestas says Foxborough is Steelers kryptonite. They got to win there sometime. They definitely have to win there sometime. But let's stop right here and look back and say, yeah, they haven't done it. But is this an end now for the Patriots? Are there going to be any more Super Bowl wins for this team? I said earlier, it's highly possible. I'm not going to roll it out. But are they done?
As they're currently constructed, there's no way I can see them winning another Super Bowl, because they just don't have the offense for it. If they can retool the offense, and if they can get a big time receiver in there, or a young receiver that turns into a big time receiver, then yeah, maybe. But right now, I don't see it. Then again, I remember sitting on the couch with my girlfriend 10 years ago, watching the Ravens destroy them and thinking, well, it's been 10 years for the Patriots. They're pretty much done now. And you know what they did after that? They spent the next decade dominating the NFL again. So, but I find it hard to believe because, Brady's going to be 43 next time he plays another important game. So I just don't see it.
Now, Dallas asked, didn't we go ahead and win there in 2004? No, that was actually in Pittsburgh because I was there. It was the Halloween game.
Right.
And so I'll never, what a great Plexico Burris was on fire in that game. It was amazing. So yeah, I don't think the Steelers would have won that game. I think they would have given them a game though. And
yeah, it would have been
interesting. I would have loved to have seen Doug Hodges have a playoff game, but just like I'm asking you about the Patriots dynasty being over, because I think it's done. Because I think Brady's leaving soon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect Belichick to be there much longer. But let me ask you a question about Belichick. Do you think he wants to win one without Brady?
I think he wants to, but I don't think he wants to go through the process of trying to find another young quarterback and building him up and getting him up to snuff on his system. And he's 67 years old. So, I mean, by the time that happens, he'll be in his 70s more than likely. If Brady leaves and they go out and find another big time quarterback somehow, like the Broncos did with Peyton Manning, then maybe I can see him sticking around. But I don't think he wants to do it the hard way. I don't think he wants to retool it and rebuild with another quarterback. No, not at this point. I think he would have. I think he wanted that with Garoppolo, but I think Brady and the owner got together and said, "Nah, we want Garoppolo gone. I still want to be the top guy here." So it could have happened, but I think it went to San Francisco with Garoppolo.
Garoppolo's still going too, and you got to root for a guy like that. You really want to root for that. Alex Flores says, "Bad. I think Brady will stay and Bill will leave. Imagine he goes to the Browns." Oh my gosh, I don't know if he'd go back to the Browns, even though that's not the same Browns franchise. I think he's still a little bit bitter. I know it's no longer that old regime. It's not Art Modell, but he was basically gone when they decided to go with Ted Marchibroda, a Baltimore legend, and go to Baltimore. So he didn't make that trip to the Ravens. Thank goodness they didn't keep him and take. Can you imagine if they would have taken Bill Belichick to the Ravens?
Yeah, but I think, and this is going to sound like sour grapes, but I think Belichick owes his entire legacy, or most of it anyway, to Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady, he was the main reason why he became the greatest coach, quote unquote, of all time. So I don't know if it would have made much. I don't think he would have had the same impact without Tom Brady.
Knapp coming into the party. Did everyone love Vrabel running all that time off the clock? He was driving Belichick nuts. Now, I read a lot about that, and Belichick was really pissed off about it, but he was talking about it earlier about that being a loophole. And he said, they'll probably close the loophole and probably should be. But guess what? The loophole that you brought out, and I mean, it was used against you. So you can't get ticked off about that. I mean,
there was nothing against it, nothing against that happening. It's not like they were cheating.
Hey, dish out, can't take it. You know that deal.
Right.
Getting bent with Bo in the house. Nice to see that. So let's bring this up. This is actually pretty funny here. Pittsburgh lost the last two games, giving the Titans the in versus the Pats. So essentially, the Steelers beat the Patriots. There you go.
That's one way of looking at it.
Are you a Star Wars guy, Tony?
Not really. I mean, I used to be, but that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
I am a big Star Wars guy, not quite like Lance and Dave Schofield. I have seen all 10 in the theater. Excuse me, all 11 in the theater. Excuse me. So that's something I'm actually pretty proud of. I saw the first one when I was 5 years old. I just don't publicize it as much as those guys do. But I love this quote: Belichick will retire as a Sith Lord. Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, now that, well, I don't want to do a spoiler, but I mean, you need a successor to Palpatine. So there you go. It's Bill Belichick. I would love to see Belichick in the next trilogy, if they even have. They're not going to have one, but it would be neat to see the saga continue and Belichick be there. Knapp's watching Empire Strikes Back right now with his nephew and niece. That's actually pretty amazing. So we put that to bed about would have the Steelers beaten the Patriots? They could have.
Yeah.
Okay. There's Lance. Darth Belichickius. Oh, I love it. So may the force be with all of us, Snowman. I've my midi-chlorians are actually off the scale. There's just much fear in me. If you heard me the other night on the I believe it was on the after party. That's the problem. That's why I pick against the Steelers sometimes, because I have much fear. So I will not be going to the Jedi Academy pretty soon. My son, when he was 8, went to the Jedi Academy at Disneyland in California, and he actually fought Kylo Ren. And I think it was rigged, so you don't destroy a young 7 or 8 year old's dreams. But he did defeat him, and so did like 80 other kids that day. So I guess they were off. So let's go to the Sunday games. Back over to the National Football Conference. The first game I did not see. That's the one game I didn't see a lot of. I saw some, but I was just surprised how, once again, we only had one home team victorious over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But it was crazy to come in and see the home team, just a team like New Orleans that I thought was really going to go ahead and roll. I was shocked to see them go down, because I actually would have picked them. I had them actually going pretty far in the playoffs.
And it goes back to how important that bye is. I mean, the Saints were pretty close to getting that bye, and they just missed out. If they would have, if they would have gotten that bye, it might have been a different story. But they had to open up the playoffs in the wild card round. I think that makes a huge difference. What
was the what do you think was the turning point in that game?
Oh, the turning point was the big Kirk Cousins pass in overtime to Adam Thielen. I mean, if they don't make that play there, the Saints probably get the ball. I mean, it's overtime, so it's pretty late to have a turning point. But I think that was the turning point, because I think the Saints were going to win that game if they got their hands on the ball. See, the Vikings took the opening kickoff of overtime and went right down the field, and if he wouldn't have made that play there, the game would have been probably over in favor of the Saints. They would have probably marched right down the field and kicked the field goal to end the game.
Yeah, and that brings up the fact that Breeze fumbling after Hill made those huge plays.
Oh yeah! Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. Yeah, they were. Was it 20-17 at that point? I think, and they were going for at least a tie, and he fumbled. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Good point, Knapp.
So then we go to the final game, and I'm not a Philadelphia fan, because I grew up being a Steeler fan, being a Pirates fan, being a Penguins fan growing up. You're just told to hate Philly. And so I've always hated Philly. And you got to understand, when I was just getting into baseball, Pete Rose was never, I didn't know Pete Rose as a Red until late in his career. I knew him as a Philly.
Right.
And I knew Michael Jack Schmidt, one of the greatest of all time. I knew him as a Philly, and I couldn't stand him either. But I look back, I'm like, oh, that guy was great. But, it just those two guys, and then Steve Carlton, no personality whatsoever, but lefty, was just an amazing player. And then I've always disliked the Eagles. It's just, I've tried to like them, just always disliked those guys. So, for me, I always root against Philadelphia for some reason. It might be because of their fans. And remember, we're going to talk about fans in a few minutes. But that's just a team that I maybe going after Santa Claus like they did back in the 60s and just like punching out horses. They were punching out horses just a couple of years ago. So I've always hated the other Pennsylvania teams, and I couldn't stand Philly. So Nap says right on bad, born to hate all Philly. I bet my Philly hate rivals Lance's general hate. So Michael O'Malley says living in Portland or the Seahawks have been shoved down my throat for 40 years. They are on TV every week, so he hates Seattle and the Seahawks. I still love to go ahead and watch that team though play, and the Seahawks, excuse me. As I go forward, and I don't tell you that I'm going forward. My wife saw all the time is like, you go back to a subject and you don't even tell me what you're doing. And so here we go again with my deficit. So the Seahawks, I kind of like watching that team play, and I would probably rank. Where do you rank Pete Carroll in NFL coaches today?
Oh, he's consistent, so I'd say he's a top 5, top 6 coach. I mean, he took them to 2 Super Bowls in a row, and he's kept them relevant every year since. I think they may have missed the playoffs once or twice, but they've never really fallen off the map. I mean, it's easy to do with Russell Wilson, but still, I mean, it's a feat in itself to stay relevant 6-7 years after you won a Super Bowl. So I definitely think he's a top 5, top 6 coach.
Yeah, and I will say this though. I did break Michael O'Malley's heart, so I will say this: Go Blazers! The Rose City, I believe it's the Rose City. I have no problem with the Trailblazers. Loved Drexler back in the day. I rooted hard for the Trailblazers in the finals, and I believe it was 90. I believe the Blazers were in the finals against the Pistons in 90, and
Glide.
And I rooted for them when they played the Bulls also. So I like the Blazers. So there you go. So getting back to that last game. That was another pretty good game. But watching after Wentz went out, Tony, for me it kind of seemed like watching the Steelers the last few weeks. Even though if the Steelers would have had McCown, they would be in the playoffs right now. Just like I keep on saying, if they had Matt Moore or if they had Case Keenum, they would be going far in the playoffs. So 90 was with the Bulls. Okay, excuse me. 90 was the Bulls. I'm mixing a whole bunch of stuff up. Did they not play the Pistons? As you're probably wondering what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the Blazers now.
Well, the Blazers played the Pistons, I think, in 89, 90. I think that's how it went. That's how it went.
And then they're saying they lost to the Bulls in 90. Okay,
the Bulls didn't win their first title till 91. They beat the Lakers.
Yeah, the Bulls beat the Lakers in 91. And okay, I'm not a basketball guy because Pittsburgh doesn't have a team. I try to follow it, but if Pittsburgh had a team, I would. But go Panthers. And I'll root for the Mountaineers of West Virginia as well when it comes to basketball. So Pistons beat the Bulls in 91 is what Ollie is saying. Yeah, I think that's right.
No, that's not right at all.
No?
91, that was the year Michael Jordan did the double whatever against the Lakers. Yeah,
yeah,
Lakers,
that's right.
And in 92, I think they beat the Suns. In 93, I don't remember.
No, 93 was the Suns.
Oh, 93 so 92 might have been the Pistons then. Or I'm sorry, or the Blazers.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking, all right, we now need to look that up.
Jeffrey Benedict, he knows everything. So
Bulls Blazers was 92. See, we said that originally, 92. There you go.
Yeah.
So wow, I actually got one right, and I wasn't even trying. Dallas
No,
mentions
that's not
Cordell beat Brady. No, that was a Bledsoe team.
That was
Brady
that
didn't come
Bledsoe, yeah.
along until 2000, and we didn't know about him until 2001. So to wrap up that other game that we're talking about, it seemed like they were gone. It seemed like the Eagles they were going down the field, they were getting some field goals, but you just didn't. If I was an Eagles fan, I just didn't have the confidence at all.
And I think it gives us an idea of how it would have been like if the Steelers would have made it. I think they were just been the inferior team no matter who they would have played, and it probably would have been a kind of a game like that, 17-9, 17-10, something like that.
I did not understand Doug Peterson and the Eagles not going for it, actually going for it and not going for the field goal with 5 minutes left in the game, down by 8, because there was plenty of time.
Right. Yeah.
And so I really thought that's something they should have done, but you don't know. I just don't think they had it. I don't think, like the Steelers, the last 3 weeks of the season, they didn't have sevens in them.
Right.
Right. There weren't touchdowns in that team, and there really wasn't in that team either, being the Philadelphia Eagles. So we're looking forward real quick, and we'll go ahead and look forward to this weekend. You have the Houston Texans going to Kansas City, and you have in the AFC, you have the Tennessee Titans going to Baltimore. Let's start with the first one. Texans and Kansas City.
Whew.
I mean,
that's good. I love that.
That's an offensive game, but
class of 2017 quarterbacks too.
Can you really think that Mahomes is going to get stopped though?
Oh, I don't think he's going to get stopped. But I think it's going to be a hell of a game because the Texans beat them at Arrowhead with Mahomes earlier in the year. So I think it has a chance to be a really good game, and I think it's going to be a fairly high scoring game. I really think it's going to come down to the last possession.
If my name was Bryan Avis, it would be that game because there's going to be no D in it.
Right, yeah.
Okay, I thought that one up on the fly. That wasn't that good, but thanks for the courtesy laugh, Tony. I appreciate it.
It's my job.
So are we saying Kansas City in that game?
Yeah, but I think it's going to be a close game, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Texans found a way to win. But I think the Chiefs are going to win a close game at the end.
You know what's saving Kansas City right now is Tyrann Mathieu. What a great pickup! I think he is, because that's not a good defense. Chris Jones is nice up front, but that's just not an amazing defense whatsoever. Tennessee and Baltimore. I mean, there's a lot of people saying that, Tennessee can go in there and win. I don't think so. Derrick Henry could make it tough, but I think at the end of the day, it's Baltimore.
Right. Yeah. The only reason why I give the Titans any shot at all is because, like you said, Derrick Henry, and in a way, I guess the Browns kind of gave them a little bit of a blueprint earlier in the year when they went to Baltimore and beat them and ran all over them. But that was so early in the year, and it's hard to. Sometimes you don't know what your team identity is until the 5th or 6th week. So I don't put much stock in that. But I agree. I don't think the Ravens are going to be in much danger in this game.
So yeah, it seems like, to quote Snowman, Chiefs versus Ratbirds in the AFC Championship. We will talk about. We'll wait to see that matchup happen. We're not going to see what's going to happen in that game. I'm looking at the live chat. I'm not supposed to. So, and that is just for me. I'm not told I'm not supposed to. It's just like I go all over the place. My wife says I can't multitask, and I found that out here as Nap's telling me that Luke just killed Vader in the weird tree and saw his own face. So it looks like you're watching Return of the Jedi now, not Empire, but I digress. Oh, no. That is Empire Strikes Back, because that's his vision. Okay. He's having a vision about it. So I think that's going to be one of the more fun games of the weekend, though, watching Baltimore and Tennessee. And you said it right there. Both matchups are great. I'm going to really enjoy this divisional weekend. There's not a bum in the bunch of those games. If we go to the NFC games, who do we have? We have San Francisco and Minnesota. Somebody said mentioned earlier, does this mean Cousins is good? I think Cousins is the right guy in the right place at the right time. I don't know if they can beat San Francisco right now. I think San Francisco, I'm not saying they're winning the whole thing. I just think that they're special enough to be in the NFC Championship game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were kind of on the ropes a little bit coming down the stretch, and they could have very easily been a number 5 seed if the Seahawks got in from, I think, the 1 or the 5. They were at the 1, and they had a penalty at the end of the game last week that kind of screwed their chances at the division. But it's going to be hard for the Vikings to go in there and win that game after such an emotional game yesterday. I think the 49ers, they have great team speed. They have a great running game. They have a heck of a defense and a pass rush. So I think they're gonna win this one.
You know what? I just think it's San Francisco, so I agree. The other game, Seattle at Green Bay. I really like Seattle right now. Sorry, I do apologize, Mr. O'Malley. Green Bay's boring to me, though. I just don't think Rodgers is. We talked about Brady not being the same. I don't think Rodgers is the same either.
Yeah, he was kind of blah this year.
Yeah, so I mean, he did help me win a 14-team fantasy league that's a keeper league, which I started out 2-5, but in the final he almost blew it for me, and right. I got by. But he was just, maybe it's that mustache sapping his power. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But just really weird. So I'm actually going for Seattle in this game. I think it's a rematch of the NFC Championship game from a few years back, Seattle and San Francisco, but this time it's in San Francisco.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks are the better team. They have the better players on offense, especially, and Russell Wilson. I mean, people forget. I don't know if it's still the case anymore, if he's still in the running, but he was in the running for NFL MVP for the longest time. So I mean, he's having a heck of a year. So. I think the Seahawks are the better team. If it was in Seattle, it'd be no contest. But unfortunately, it's in unfortunately for Seattle, it's in Green Bay, so that's a tough place to play. But I still give the Seahawks a good chance in that game.
So let me ask you this: you just brought something up. He won't be NFL MVP. I still think it's Lamar Jackson, but I've got a dark horse coming in, and I think it's Derrick Henry. Could Derrick Henry take it away? I think the NFL wants Lamar Jackson to
win it. And I think, isn't the voting done before the playoffs? So I think, if the voting was done like before the Super Bowl, I think that would cloud the perception of or motive or sort of inspire the voters to go with somebody like that. But I think he was too late into the game to really get much traction in that voting.
So Erica J brings up, watch out for DK Metcalf. He is really coming on. Why nobody wanted to take that guy. And he went right, in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he went right after right before the Steelers picked, right? The Steelers didn't pass him up, did they?
Well, they I don't remember. They traded their second round pick away, right? Didn't they?
Yeah,
for Devin Bush, I think.
But in the third round, I think DK Metcalf, didn't he go in the third round?
I honestly don't remember. But people were calling him just a physical specimen and nothing else. Maybe that's, it's 2020 now, hindsight.
For some reason, I think he went in the third round. I think he went right before Deontay Johnson, but live chat helped me out with that. I think it was really close. He was coming close to the Steelers. Second round, 64th overall. So yeah, that was really close. Okay, yeah, he went in the second round, but you got to understand, Johnson was the fourth pick. So I think Deontay Johnson was the fourth pick in the third round. So he went 4 picks before then. So it was pretty close, but the Steelers did not have a chance to pass him up for Deontay Johnson. So there you go. So we will wrap things up here, but something I teased earlier. Let's talk about fan bases. I know Knapp was at that game with me, the Buffalo game, and we talked about the Buffalo Bills fans being the most just being very obnoxious fans. I've been around a lot of fans. I have trouble because I went to I've gone to M&T Bank, Ratbird Stadium, and I'll tell you that I don't enjoy going there because the fans are pretty obnoxious to Steeler fans, even when you're there with kids. And that's the situation I had, and I did not appreciate it. If we look at the worst fan bases in football, I've got friends that are Raiders fans, but if I went to a Raiders game, I'll just wear a black shirt. If I went to a Steelers Raiders game, that's all I'm doing. I don't want to be murdered.
Right.
But I've been to a Chargers game wearing Steelers stuff. I've been different places wearing Steelers stuff, and I have no problem. But that's a place I would not want to go. I've been to Jacksonville, and gosh, there were so many Pittsburgh fans there in that game. It was 75-25 when I went to that game to see the Steelers a couple years back. So let's say the top 5, and I didn't write these down, but the top 5 worst fan bases or top 5 dumbest fan bases. And I'm talking about worst, I'm talking about behavior. What do you say? I'm going to say number 5. I'm going to say the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're just dumb. I think they're terrible fans because they have no clue what's going on, and they're very myopic. So I'm not a Bengals fan.
Well, I went to a game a number of years ago, the Martavis Bryant 97-yard touchdown game, and they seemed like they had a defeatist even though they were in first place at the time. They seemed like they had a defeatist attitude about that division. Like they already knew that they weren't going to win that division. So I don't know if they're aggressive or anything, but they're definitely not, like after the Vontaze Burfict stuff. They seem like they went out of their way to defend him, which I guess I kind of get. But yeah, I guess we can. I'll agree with you on that one. 5. I wouldn't put them any higher though.
So some people are saying that it's the Browns. I'm not going to go ahead and put the Browns in there. Getting bent with bows is Oakland, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Bengals, and Buffalo from worst to best. I'm not even going to count New England in here. I don't think those fans they're obnoxious, but I don't think they're that bad. I would probably put on my list. I would probably put Baltimore number 4. If I'm going to look at it, I would probably put Buffalo number 3. I'd probably put Oakland number 2 and Philadelphia number 1.
Yeah.
But those are some. I've been to a Philadelphia game, but they were playing the Saints, so it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything really to me. It wasn't bad, but I wouldn't go there with Steelers stuff on. Actually, I would, but then again, I'm the guy that I'll go to another fan stadium. You know my role. You can come into my living room, just don't pee on my couch.
Right.
And I sat next to a Baltimore fan when I went to the game, and she was like looking at me like, "Oh, here we go." And I'm like, "I'm going to be your favorite Pittsburgh fan ever by halftime." And so in the middle of the second quarter, she goes, "You're right. You are the best Steeler fan I ever met." I'm like, "I told you," because I get it. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think my criteria is like you've been saying throughout this segment, that if you're afraid to wear your team's gear around those fans, then that's a good barometer. And I think any Philadelphia game, whether it's the Eagles or the Flyers or whatever, they're just obnoxious. And then of course the Raiders. I mean, those stories are notorious. What goes on at the Black Hole, at least what went on at the Black Hole before they moved. So I think those two fan bases are definitely 1 and 2 in terms of worst fan behavior. The other ones, I really have a hard time saying. I've heard some bad things about Cleveland fans, and
I'll put them number 6.
Okay.
Actually, I'll flip flop them with the Bengals. We'll put the Bengals 6, Browns 5. Let's Casey Kasem style. Let's count down with Ezra. Number 5, the Ravens. At number 4, checking in our Ravens fans. At number 3, Ezra Nehemiah says Ravens fans.
Wow, like the
No,
Bee
not
Gees in the late 70s.
yeah, nice pull. Up 3 notches to number 2. It's Raven fans. And Ezra Nehemiah ranks the worst fans in the National Football League as always got to do the drum roll, right?
Seahawks.
Ravens fans. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars.
Very good. Very good.
I can't do a good Casey impression, and he's my hero. Anyways, so look, no Steelers, no problem. Tony and I wanted to do a 40-minute show today. Of course, we've done an hour because we get on with you guys. We have fun. We keep it going. So thanks so much for hanging out with us, Tony. What do you think?
It was a fun show. I enjoyed talking about the playoff games. I enjoyed talking about the hypothetical Steelers Patriots playoff game. It was a really good show for our first non Steelers regular season show.
Yes, Casey Kasem was the voice of Shaggy George. He was also the voice of Robin and Super Friends. Great stuff. Bo, I appreciate it, saying that I need my own podcast, just not Steelers, but general news. If you go ahead and listen to Jeff, Dave, and I in the after party and in the off season, we might be doing some stuff like that. So we might be doing some other stuff. I mean, it'll always tie into the Steelers, but we'll have some fun. I've been listening to a lot of movie podcasts. Bill Simmons right now, the rewatchables. That's, if you love movies, that's really fun. So check something like that out too. But for Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis, and we appreciate each and every one of you that joins us every week, even in the off season. That's the best part. I know they're still playing football, but it's the off season for Steeler fans. But we've got a lot of things to talk about. We're going to be here each and every week, hanging out with you and loving hanging out with you. Once again, you're our family here, our BTSC family, and we can't do it without you. So, Tony, take it home, my friend.
You, my friends, for Bryan Anthony Davis, I am Anthony Defeo, and you, my friends, have just been hungover. See you next week.